Hello, everyone. Welcome to Allianz Joy today on Win-Win Women TV. I hope you will join me or watch the replay. We're going to talk a little bit today about the signs that you are mentally exhausted. I am Elian Haan. I am a life coach, and in my practice, I help people find their sexy back, I always say, right? People that have experienced signs of PTSD, anxiety, depression, grief, or just feeling stuck overall and do not really know how to move forwards. So I really am always in the business of helping people and trying to find ways to be able to move forwards. Most of my clients will find me on my website, elianhaan.com. And I hope that you will reach out if you feel stuck or you feel mentally exhausted and you will remember or you recognize some of these signs that we are discussing today. So very grateful to be here on Win-Win Women TV as a show host with many, many other fabulous women where we are trying to help you and reach out and give you some tips about life in general. I love to say always, life doesn't really get any easier, but you get better at it. And because of that, there's always a way out and there's always a way forward. So I'd like to share some of these things with you today. And the first thing that we are going to discuss is what is really mental exhaustion, right? If you are mentally feeling exhausted, it's kind of like a physical way of feeling really tired. Physically tiredness and physically exhausted is when you have been running around and your body gives you the signs that you have done enough. And it is the same for your mind. So your mind is just reacting the same as your muscles. Your mind is a muscle. The exhaustion is just kind of tends to show up when you're focusing on a mentally tough task for a while, and you might feel that your brain is just not really with you. You feel drained. You're really stressed out all the time, and you feel really, really tired. Sometimes it feels that you're always on alert or you're just kind of hyper, and your job and caring for children or caring for your family is really leading to more exhaustion. And how can you recognize that? Today, I want to bring up a couple of things that are really leading up to that mental exhaustion. And I hope that you recognize that. And what I always say to my clients is when you recognize it, you can bring a stop to it, right? You can change it. It is all about seeing and being aware and recognizing that you have these feelings or that you are experiencing one of these symptoms. And because of that, there are ways to move out and move forwards with that. One of the major signs is that you are angry or impatient. And if you feel that, then you are really mentally fatigued and you're in a bad mood. You might be short tempered, you might be irritated, you might snap at people more often. And it's very hard to control your emotions when you're mentally tapped out. And if you're feeling angry or if you're feeling that you are irritated and you don't have patience anymore, and then you are recognizing one of the signs that you are mentally exhausted. And it can happen to everybody. It can happen in small periods of time. It can happen in longer periods of time. But it's really important for us to recognize that we are experiencing that we are just constantly irritated or angry. And when we can feel that, then that is a sign of mental exhaustion. The second one is, and this is really big, that you can't really get your work done. And all your productivity just goes up and down all the time. It makes it really hard for you to concentrate. And if you feel that really difficult task ahead and you can't focus on it, you can't concentrate, you can't give it all your attention, that might really be a sign that your emotions are out of control and you're mentally tapped out, right? Some tasks, even small ones during the day, might just feel like huge tasks ahead, and you might feel that it's constantly very overwhelming. And if you feel that, that is a huge sign of also being a little bit exhausted mentally. A third one that we always experience a lot when we feel exhausted is that we don't really get work done. Just like I said, small task seems really big. You're getting zoned out. and you feel that you're wandering, you feel a little bit drowsy, it really makes it hard for you to pay close attention to what you're doing. You may not react to things the way that you usually do and get it fast out of the way, right? And it can be dangerous even in some situations. Once you might experience sometimes that you're driving and you're zoning out and you can't really focus. And of course, that might be dangerous. Mental fatigue leads to car wrecks in many cases. And that is just because that is the big thing of zoning out, right? It's just because you can't really focus again and you're feeling that you're not in the moment and you can't concentrate. That feeling zoned out is a very big sign that you are mentally exhausted. And another one that we all recognize, and I hope you do, and I hope if you recognize it, that there's a lot of things that you can do about it, is that you cannot sleep well. It's really important to get good night rest. It's for all of us very important. And if you think it might be easy to snooze a little bit when your brain is tired, that might not be the case. You just can't fall asleep. Most of the time, it's because we have a lot on our minds and we can't shut it down. One of the things that I can tell you, I experienced that when I have a lot on my mind and there's just a lot of mental tasks ahead, a lot of things that I have to do for my work or a lot of things that I have to get ready, then I just can't get all those things out of my mind. And that might have to do at the same time with things that I'm focusing or thinking about that has to do with family situations or difficult situations that find place all at the same time. And if you cannot oversee it, if you cannot really grasp it all, then you feel mentally exhausted and you can't sleep. And this is definitely the case. And it shows in the research that people with really high productivity jobs or high cognitive workout, if we call that, or workload, they report more symptoms of insomnia than those who that don't have mentally exhausting work, right? So if we're constantly in that think tank and if we're constantly trying to find work solutions, we are sleeping less well. And that is a thing that is difficult for all of us to do because we all need a good night's sleep. It makes you mentally and really emotionally and physically, of course, really fatigued. And if you get that feeling, it only stacks up to that mental exhaustion because we don't get a good night rest. So now also we're physically really exhausted, and that is not a very healthy place to be. So sleeping is so important, and everybody knows that. If we don't get enough sleep and if we feel that exhaustion, then we need to find a reason or find a way to get some better night rest. And a lot of things are having to do with that overload of work, right? Or that overthinking. Some of the times, and I have experience working with people as a coach that are in addiction recovery, sometimes we do unhealthy things if we are on overdrive. And that might lead to the use of more alcohol or the use of drugs or the use of opioids, pills to sleep or maybe get that rest. But ultimately, that is not a very healthy state to be in. We always want to try to bring that back to the cause and try to find out why we think that we need to drink more or why we feel that we need help by using substance, right? By using pills or using drugs. And when we do that, we of course spiral into a more um, unhealthy state again. We're just kind of putting a band-aid on the symptoms, right? That is the whole case with substance abuse. Mental fatigue takes a harder toll on us and it just spirals down if we have that substance use disorder. If we are thinking that because of drugs or because of alcohol, we can sleep better, of course, that is a temporary band-aid again. And we might think that that helps us fall asleep. But ultimately, of course, you do wake up in the middle of the night and you do start overthinking again. You do start rambling again in your mind, or even sometimes relive that trauma that you are experiencing in the moment. It is really difficult to manage stress when you are drinking or when you're using and to control that impulsive behavior. It might just get out of control, and that is not a solution. Another point here, when we are depressed And when we're feeling down, is that also does not contribute to a very healthy mental state of mind. You might not feel the energy. You might feel that you're moving really in slow motion. And when the depression gets worse, then we just start feeling numb. Sometimes I use the example with my clients that you have the feeling that nobody cares anymore, and it just throws you even further into a state of mind where you don't care, right? And then it's like saying to people, well, I don't care about celebrating my birthday. And then when your birthday comes around, nobody comes over because you're told that you don't care about it. But at your birthday, on that day itself, you think, why is nobody paying attention to me? Nobody cares anymore. And that is just that really weird state of mind where you are just spiraling into a phase of just indifference. And that might be a long lasting cause of depression. And for that, of course, we need to get help if you feel that way. Your depression might just really go over time into what we call a chronic depression state, right? Or in chronic anxiety, where you constantly worry about things that are not really helping you. And that brings me to the next point, right? Anxiety is also a state of mind where you're just more worried all the time. It's not so much as depression numbness, but it really feels that you're constantly worried, you're constantly looking for solutions, and you're trying to control things that are happening tomorrow or that are just not even the case. They're not even there yet, but you're worried about it and you just have no answers and you have no outcome. You just can't see it anymore. Mental fatigue like that just triggers your sympathetic nervous system. And that really goes into your fight or flight mode, right? That's one of the biggest things with anxiety. You feel that you're constantly in a panic mode and you constantly have to defend yourself. You constantly have to find solutions, or you just want to kind of hide away from it. I recognize that because I had in the past with anxiety a tendency of try to hide and run away from it and be really scared to get out there and ask for help. And that is one of the things that is anxiety is doing it to you, right? You worry and you worry constantly. And sometimes that anxiety goes along with those symptoms of depression to where it really becomes a long-term state of mind. And you are just feeling such hopelessness. You're feeling so out of control and you're not really seeing any solutions anymore. So as I discussed it with my clients sometimes, we get to that phase where we are feeling that even solutions are not there and you're staying into that mode. You can't stay or you can't see moving, out of that. You can't see that there is ways out, and you just stay way too long in that mode of scareness and helplessness. And that is just a very big symptom of feeling mentally exhausted. Sometimes, if we're just really going into our mind all the time, sometimes we call that in coaching or counseling, we call that you're in your head all the time, right? You're just constantly thinking and thinking and overthinking so much that will just also, of course, have some effect on your body and your physical state of mind. And if that happens, we really feel exercise is harder for us. We really feel that we just can't really finish that exercise routine that otherwise we can easily get out of the way. Any physical activity feels more difficult. Your tolerance for exercise might go down. And it seems that you're really putting more effort in everything, while usually that is so simple for you. So it just drives you again into a phase of really feeling mentally and emotionally and now physically exhausted. When exercise feels harder, then that exercise at that moment is not a solution for you anymore because it becomes also a big task ahead. Sometimes we go to eating, right? And your eating habits change, so your appetite might change. Sometimes we go into overeating and eating the wrong way, and we're not eating healthy things anymore. You might snack more than you usually do, and you might not pay attention to what it is that you eat. So we're just going maybe to the drive-through way too much, or we're just making something simple real fast that is actually not really a healthy choice. And that also, of course, stress eating has a lot of effects on your body, right? You crave sugar, you might crave salty foods, you might crave fatty foods. And we're just changing these habits of our eating where we're taking more time normally to prepare healthy meals. In this case, if you're mentally exhausted, you don't really have the drive to do so, to take real care of yourself and to prepare healthy meals and do that in a wonderful, mindful state of mind, because you know that you need to take time for that. So that is also a sign of mental fatigue. And one of the last ones is that you are just overall, and definitely in maybe work situations, make way more mistakes. So although you're really trying to complete a task ahead or really trying to get a big job done, you are just constantly making mistakes because you can't focus, right? It's impossible, of course, for you to be perfect all the time. But mental fatigue lessens your ability to just catch and fix mistakes that normally are there and that you see immediately and that you can focus on and right away fix. So it causes more serious problems in jobs, and especially, and this becomes kind of like a little bit dangerous again, if you're working, for instance, with a machine. So you're driving a vehicle for work, or even are, traveling a lot. All these things are just becoming kind of the danger zone of mental fatigue. It has to do with it zoning out, and it has to do with not even being able to focus. You just overall feel that you are so stuck in your thinking that you're feeling more pain emotionally and physical. What drives to emotional outburst again, right? What drives us to being irritated and being anxious and feeling that we are having no control over the situations and our life ahead. When you feel that, it's always really good to reach out. And I'm going to give you some very simple answers to these overloads, these emotional state of mind overloads, right? Of course, I talk about anxiety a lot, and I give a lot of examples for anxiety of what you can do to get yourself in a really simple mode of taking a break and say, it's not so bad. I can get out of this. And the most important thing there is that we are creating a moment of awareness of what you feel and how you feel, and just take a break. Just step out of it. And even at work, that can be so important. So if you are in a work situation and you feel that anxiety, you feel depressed, you feel that there's no solutions at hand, then just take a break and reassess the situation. And what helps us, and I do that with my clients a lot, and I talk about that a lot, and I help you with that a lot, hopefully, is that you are going to step away and, for instance, come into a state of mindfulness or practice meditation or practice a breathing technique. Just very slow breathing, just taking a breath in, for instance, for 4 counts, and then holding that for 7 counts. And then very slowly exhaling for 8 counts really, really, really helps you. If you just repeat that for a while and you just feel your body getting calmer and your mind just kind of settling, then that helps tremendously, right? So those mindfulness exercises and meditation, or even taking a walk and going away from the situation that felt so overwhelming, will really help you. Just get out in nature, start doing maybe something that you really love to do, or start paying attention to a wonderful lunch that you took with you, and take some more time out to recharge and to reset. It's really, really important. You can, for instance, if that is really difficult for you because you think, well, I cannot really rely on myself to do that right now, and I'm still just thinking about work, just set a timer for a few minutes, or set a timer for 20 or 25 minutes, and just kind of focus on what you need to do in between that time, and in the time what you need to get accomplished, and then step away from it. So make it a little bit, break it up a little bit so that you can oversee the things that you can do that are realistic and that you can in real life accomplish, and leave the things out that are not due yet or not really important yet, right? We just have to take a little break. And if you try to do that in set times and you get better at that time management, then at that point, you can slowly move into a calmer state of mind and see that you are feeling a little bit better. It's really, really important. And then again, most of the time, I tell people the first thing sometimes is just exercise, right? And I just mentioned that exercise might even become difficult or become overwhelming, or you just feel physically as well really tired and exhausted. So you cannot even complete the tasks that you usually do at the gym, right? So many reps or so many machines. And if that does not work for you, just go to a simpler way of an exercise. So go to a couple of stretches, or again, go to walking outside, take a walk. The things that are doable for you and that you can do a few times a week might be really, really healthy there. So just try to get active. If you're trying to get active, it will always give us a little bit more strength emotionally, a little bit more, a little bit more of a shield, right? A little bit more of a defense mechanism towards the things that we are emotionally and mentally trying to complete. We have to find, to wrap it up, we have to find ways to relax. It's very, very important that we are really nice to ourselves. And in times that we are mentally exhausted, we are usually really trying to live up to a lot of expectations at work, or maybe even in the family, or everybody relies on you and the task is so heavy because you have to feel, or you feel that you have to fix everything. And asking for help might sometimes be really, really difficult. But it is absolutely the truth that we cannot do a lot of things for others if we do not first do really nice things for ourselves. So we have to find ways to treat ourselves well and to find a way to relax so that you are recharged and reset, able to help others forwards and help yourself forwards. So again, if I am really trying to work with people that are in that state of mind and feeling mentally exhausted, I always try to bring some meditative exercise in or some walking exercises to where we feel first physically a little bit stronger and then feel mentally and emotionally a little bit more charged, right? We can handle it a little bit better. Your body's relaxation response will always give us the strength that we mentally need. Sometimes it's even good to get a massage or, go out for a facial, or as women, we love our pedicures, right? Those kind of things are really good for me time. And reading a book or doing something that you love to do as a hobby. Sometimes it's painting, sometimes it's journaling. Just take time out for yourself to do these really wonderful, simple things that you can do to help yourself. I hope that helps a little bit today to talk about some of these things that you can recognize for mental exhaustion. And I am here to help. So that's why I love to bring these things up and bring them to you. I hope that you will reach out for help every time that you need it. And I hope that you are not afraid to talk about it. That's why I love to have a coach. And that's why I love what I do as a coach, right? As a midlife and transformation coach. I help people with a sort of a triangle transformation, I call that. I can see where you hold stress in your body or where the pain is that you have mentally experienced and where that sometimes manifests in your body, where you hold that pain, where you hold that stress, or you hold that tension. And so in order to feel that we can tackle that mind, body, spirit approach, that triangle, that we all have to bring that together, right? We have to bring that together to feel whole. I help people find their strength back through body work and through breathing and through mindfulness exercises, and of course, through coaching, because we know what we don't want. But sometimes we do not know really what we do want instead. And here I am to help people to find their way forwards. So do not be afraid to reach out and call me, elianhaan.com, and keep watching Elian's Joy, because that is my purpose with this show, to bring you solutions, to bring you answers, to make you see things that you might recognize And in that way, you can do something about it. I am here to help. Thank you for watching today. And I really hope that you will watch next week, that you will reach out to me, that you will set up a little complimentary call with me so I can find out what you need. So don't be afraid to reach out, elianhaan.com, and watch next week again and watch Alien's Joy. Thank you so much and make it a fabulous day. Till next time.